Hi everyone, welcome to the 12th video of module 6. And here you're going to create FastAPI application. For that, the first thing you'll be seeing would be the how you can create the requirements.txt file, and how you can create the get request for the health checkup of the app, then create the .getignore file, and finally create the predict endpoint. And then to interact with the API that you have created, you're going to use the interactive UI that is provided by FastAPI itself, which we call it as the Swagger UI. And we are also going to explore the UI as in what are the different type of stuff that we are having over there. So all of these kind of things are packed in this video. So let's get into it. So now let's go ahead and create our API. So api.py is the name that I'm giving to this file. And the first step would be to first of all do pip install FastAPI and ubcon. We'll be requiring this ASGI server and the FastAPI as well. So yeah, it's going to install it, and I'm also going to update our requirements.txt file regarding this. So both of these packages are installed. So I'll do pip freeze requirements.txt, right? It's going to update this one, and if we can cross check it very quickly, we can see FastAPI and all these things ready for us in this requirements.txt. So that's good. So I'll just go back to the api.py and import FastAPI and also import ubcon. Now let's go ahead and set up the app object for this FastAPI. So app is equals to FastAPI, and I'm going to import it from this FastAPI itself. So I'll do from FastAPI import FastAPI, and that's going to instantiate our app object from this FastAPI. And after this, I'll be defining the route for the root URL that's going to basically do this kind of simple health checkup of this API. So for this, I'll be having this @app. That's the decorator that I'm having over here for the app. For this get request, I'm going to generate for this root URL, and I'm going to define a function, call it as index root. You can literally have any kind of name, the one that you like. And I'm going to return a dictionary over here. It's going to check health is okay. So that's the type of dictionary output that I've created over here. So now it's time to just go ahead and check if your FastAPI app is working fine or not. For that, I'll be requiring ubcon, and then in which file I'm having this app object. So that is your API, inside which you are having app. And from this, you can simply go ahead and use host 127.0.0.1 and port 8000. And then if you run this code, it's going to show you that that's where you are having your application running. Go ahead and click on follow link. You will be able to see that we are getting a simple dictionary over here, that is health, that is okay. It means your application is working fine. Now we can simply go ahead and start adding more endpoints and see what all things we can do. And then to close this particular application, you can just press Ctrl+C in the terminal. It's going to terminate your ongoing command. And now you must have seen that PyCache have been generated automatically. I haven't done anything. And therefore I'll just go to gitignore and just have this PyCache over here. Save it. And it's going to make sure that it's not going to add it to your GitHub repository once you'll be pushing all these kind of changes. So now being said that, let's just go ahead and push this kind of changes. Git push. And all of the changes will be now pushed to the GitHub repository. Now we are all set to work on our API. So now let's go ahead and define another route for handling the post request to the predict endpoint. So over here, I'm going to define a function that's going to help us make predictions based on that make prediction that we had in the predictor.py. So we are having this load model and make predictions. I'm going to import both of them into this api.py, and for that I'll just do from predictor import load model and make predictions. And to be honest, we don't really require this uvcon over here, so I'll just get rid of that because we are just calling it in the terminal to run our application, so no problem. Over here I want to define the prediction, and it's going to take in the inputs from the user, that is what is the temperature value, then what is luminosity, and along with that what is the radius, and then what is the absolute magnitude. Now inside this I'm going to create an input features list and just pass in this temperature, luminosity, radius, and the absolute magnitude. Now I'll be calling this make predictions over here, and I'll just pass model at the same time input features input. Now from where are we getting this model? We are going to get this model by loading the model over here. So this is where I'll be doing this. Model is equal to load model and pass in the path of that model.pickle. So that's where our model will be created, and I should say loaded, and once the model is loaded it will be passed to this make predictions, and the output of this make predictions are basically the predicted class, probabilities, and classes. So it's going to generate predicted class, probabilities, and the classes. So this will be three outputs that we are getting, just cross checking it. So everything looks good. Now over here what I'll be doing is I want to show the output in a way that with respect to the classes that we have over here, we have the respective probabilities inside this particular output. So I want to just zip these two things together and create a dictionary out of it, and that dictionary I want to show as a part of my output. So over here I'll just say that return, I'll be returning a dictionary in which the first thing would be the key called as predicted probabilities, and the value for this will be a dictionary itself where I'm zipping the name of the classes with the respective probabilities. This is the first thing that I want. The second thing that I want to return is what is the name of that predicted class. So that is nothing but this one. So for that I'll be having predicted, okay, I just had a mistake of predicted class over here, and then simply mention that I want to get predicted class, and on top of that what was the value of the probability that's corresponding to this output. So for that I'll be having confidence score. Actually this is what we call it, confidence score. Now this will be the maximum value that I'm having in the probability. That's it. And I can just go up and import numpy as np and come back over here, and I'll just maybe convert this to string after rounding it off correct to, let's say, 3 decimal places. And after I convert this to string, I'll also add a percentage symbol to just say that this is our model is this much % confident that it belongs to this particular class. At the same time, I'm also giving all the probabilities with respect to their classes so that we get a proper idea of how each and every class was predicted. So that's the kind of output that I really want. So I'll save this, and let's quickly look into if we are having any kind of things to change over here. We are going to get some of these properties from the user, and these properties we are just creating a list out of it. All right, and after that I'm going to pass that list as an input to this make predictions. Along with that we had also load the model, and then we are simply generating this kind of output. So I guess everything looks fine. So now let's go ahead and load this application. So UVCon, the file name, the app object, and after that we are having host 127.0.0.1 and the port at 8000. And I'll now also give this kind of a reload functionality, so that let's say if there is any kind of a problem over here in our coding, we can simply come back over here, change the code, whatever it is, then save it, and we can just reload it directly on our application and all the kind of changes will be reflected. All right, if I don't do this particular thing, then what's really going to happen is I'll keep on having this kind of line again and again to run my application. And therefore, if I run this code now and press this up, go to the link. So there we are. But now you must be wondering that where is our predict endpoint? So for that, what you can do is, I had told you that FastAPI comes with its own interactive UI. And to get access of that UI, simply come over here, just give /docs, press enter. And this is that interactive UI that I was talking about. This is the index route that we are having. That's going to, if I just click on try out, it's going to help us execute and it's going to generate this help. Okay, it means your app is running absolutely fine. So I'll just close it up. Go to another endpoint, that is the prediction one. Over here, you can see that users can give the values of temperature, luminosity, radius, and absolute magnitude, because this is the inputs that we had defined for this particular prediction. And now if I just go ahead and click on try out, the temperature value, well, to be honest, I don't remember this numbers of temperature actually. I'll just go and create for luminosity, that is 0.00073. Then radius was 0.172 and the absolute magnitude was 17.22. But now let's figure out what was the temperature. So let's go back to our VS Code editor, and over here, luminosity, radius, absolute magnitude, everything is looking fine. This is 2637. All right. So let's come over here and say 2637. And over here, if I just click on execute, hopefully no errors. Okay, indeed we are getting some errors. Let's see what is this error and try to fix it. So it says that we need to have, okay, we need to reshape our particular inputs into one row and 4 columns, right? So I just need to have a list within a list. And now if I save this and just simply click on execute again without clicking on this reload, it's going to load over here, and this is the output that we are getting. Just look into this. So these are all the predicted probabilities with respect to their classes. So brown dwarf is having the value of 0.655, then hypergiant is 0.0011, main sequence is there, red dwarf is there, so on and so forth. You can see all of the classes along with its respective probabilities. And then what is the predicted class? The predicted class output that we are getting is a brown dwarf. And then what is the confidence score? I should have actually got this as 65.5%, not 0.655%. So what I'll do is, I'll go back to our api.py, and over here I just multiply this value with 100. I save it, go back to this, click on execute. Okay, it did not execute in a proper way. I'll just execute it again. So yeah, 65.5% is the output that we are getting over here. At the same time over here, if you have noticed that the red dwarf is the class with the second highest probability. So this basically means that our model was getting slightly confused in between brown dwarf and red dwarf. And this kind of confusion makes sense because both of them, red dwarf and the brown dwarf, belong to the bottom right side of the HR diagram that I had shown at the beginning of this module. So this is something that we have created over here. And now let's just quickly understand what all other things we get over here. So at the very start, we are having this get request through which you can check if the health of the application is fine or not. To be honest, you can have any kind of thing over here that you would like. For example, hello world, llama or lol, whatever it is. It's just going to help you get that idea that if this is showing as an output, it means that app is working just fine. After this, we had defined this endpoint with respect to get these predictions, where users are going to give you some kind of input parameters. And based on that, if they're going to click on execute, they're going to get this response body where we have defined all of this in our code, and this is the same way we are getting the output. And here is the status code of this response, which is 200. That means it's a success. And on top of that, if you are going to have an example value, okay, by the way, you can set the example value for these parameters and also the output, that how is it going to look like. So anyone who is going to interact with your API endpoints, they exactly know what type of inputs to give and what to expect in the output. All of these kind of things I'll be showing you in the upcoming video. And at the end, we are having the schemas, one to generate the HTTP validation error, and that will be generated once we are having the response code as 422. That's the validation error. So we're just setting up the schemas over here, and that's how it's going to look like. And yes, as I had mentioned, all of this I'll be explaining you in the upcoming videos, so stay tuned for that. Alright guys, that's the end of the video over here. And that was about how you can develop your API with the help of FastAPI. Now in the next video, we are going to look into how you can use Pydantic library in order to accept the inputs in a much more better way when it comes to predict endpoint that we had created over here. So stay tuned for that.